episode 408, a conversation with Anita Tam of Slowcore Supply. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DeFirio. I'm your host for the show. Always happy to have you along, and I really appreciate all of you who have been supporting the show over these past 6 years. Really incredible journey, and I can't wait to see what the next 6 years has in store. Now, if you're just tuning into the show for the first time, or if you've been listening for a while but you haven't subscribed to the show, I really encourage you to do so. That way you get updated with all the new episodes that come out weekly, and in the month that usually amounts to about 10 episodes or so, covering a variety of really important topics. And today's episode is no exception. So go ahead and subscribe to Keys to the Shop. And then also, I'd really appreciate it if you would rate or review the show. If you love what Keys to the Shop does, go onto Apple Podcasts or onto Spotify, give us a 5-star rating, and share these episodes with your team, with your coworkers, anyone who you feel could really benefit from the content of these episodes. So thanks very much, everybody, for doing that. Now, I want to let you know that Keys to the Shop, on top of doing this podcast, as another way to serve the coffee community, I offer consulting and coaching for people who either are starting their coffee shops or have a coffee shop already started. You've been running it for years, maybe, and you want to address some very specific issues, whether that's scaling your business, auditing your operations and your people and hospitality, or really just taking things generally to the next level. I work one-on-one with you to help you develop a thriving business that really sets you up for success and delivers fulfillment and joy for you in the process of running a great coffee shop. So I'd love to have a conversation with you and figure out how I can help you. Go ahead and email chris@keystotheshop.com. and we'll set up a free discovery call and have a conversation. I'd really be interested to see what's going on in your area, in your business, and again, how Keys to the Shop Consulting might be able to help you. So again, the email for Keys to the Shop coaching and consulting, go ahead and email chris@keystotheshop.com. Now, one of the things that is evident, if you are a craftsperson, if you are someone who is an artist, a creator of an experience, a creator needs tools, and good tools unlock possibilities for us. And one of the tools that we use in the coffee shop is a brewer, of course, but there is a limit to what we can do with traditional batch brewing. That is until the ground control brewer came around. The ground control Cyclops brewer from Voga Coffee is using SCA award-winning technology to truly disrupt what is happening with batch brew coffee today. It's the next level. It's opening up so many possibilities. That award-winning technology allows you to access a depth and range of flavors in your coffee that previously was really unattainable, and now it is just blowing minds all over the place. Not only is it a game-changing batch brewer, but it also makes tea, batch diced lattes, batch cold brew. So the extraction technology is very versatile, opening up profitability channels for you, efficiencies all day long. So it's really an amazing machine. Love the people there, love the product. Check them out at groundcontrol.coffee for more information. They actually just premiered their new version of the ground control at the SCA conference in Portland recently. So I definitely would be looking into that for my shop, especially since it comes at a lower price tag. And again, this is something that if you're looking for quality, versatility, increased profitability channels, then I would be looking at getting a ground control Cyclops brewer in your store. Again, check them out at groundcontrol.coffee. You know, community is such an important part of how we have progressed in the industry. And when we get together, oftentimes it's with throwdowns, it's with pouring milk and pouring plant-based beverages as well. And the plant-based beverage of choice for so many baristas that are passionate about improving their skills and improving their customers' day through a fine beverage is the Barista Series from Pacific. The Barista Series is a line of plant-based performance beverages that is designed for baristas and approved by baristas all over the world. It stands up to the heat from steaming, produces an amazing texture, perfect for latte arts, and it keeps the balance of the beverage's taste focused on the coffee, which is obviously incredibly important. And so you need to go to pacificfoodservice.com, reach out to them, get samples of these beverages in your store, have your baristas try it, you try it. I really do think that you're going to love what you taste. It's going to work great with your coffee, and you'll see why so many people around the world prefer the Barista series and why they are the leader, not only in this great product, but also they are leaders in what they do in the community for baristas beyond that. So I just love them, love what they do. Check them out again at pacificfoodservice.com if you're looking for the best beverages for your plant-based customers. Then it has to be the Barista series from Pacific. All right, everybody. Well, today we are going to be talking with somebody who has been a friend of mine and a friend probably of yours if you've been in coffee for a little bit, especially if you've been around Coffee Fest and competitions during SCA. We're talking with the one and only Anita Tam. Anita is the founder and owner of Slow Pour Supply Company. Slow Pour Supply is a distribution company for barista tools and home coffee brewing equipment. They're the official distributors of Origami Japan, WPM pitchers, Stoke, Niche Zero grinders, and Timor products in the U.S. market. Anita is also a longtime AST certified trainer with the SCA, and before coffee has spent decades in the arts and in music, especially classical music, and comes to the coffee industry with a heart and an eye for the art and craft of coffee, and is just fascinated by the science and preparation of coffee. As a result of that fascination, she spent several years working in the coffee industry, after which she founded Slow Pour Supply. And, here's the thing with Anita in Slow Pour Supply, this is all informed by how she approaches life and art and community, because these products and the way that she interacts with the people who purchase them is an art in itself. The communication to the community, the feedback from them, it's also critical because what she does is specifically for them. It's a service to the final user of these tools. And Slow Pour Supply are innovators. They have brought to the community so many game-changing things, especially these pitchers, the slow pour pitchers. The slow pour pitchers are well loved and well known. And as the head judge for Coffee Fest Latte Art World Championship Open, I rarely see a barista pouring with anything but a Slow Pour Supply pitcher. And that says a lot. And Anita, especially as the head of this organization, represents such an amazing passion and heart for people in the art of what we do. So today in this conversation with Anita, we're going to get her story. We're going to talk about how she had come to coffee, and then we're going to discover her philosophy and the way that she has developed not only this company, but developed her approach to serving in the coffee community. And it's just wonderful to hear the wisdom that she has for how she approaches life, business, and especially the art of coffee and serving coffee people. So I'm always inspired by Anita. It's one of the bright spots of any event is getting to see her and the Slow Pour crew. So I'm really excited to share this with you, and I hope that you find her wisdom and insights truly inspiring. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Here now is my conversation with the amazing Anita Tam of Slow Pour Supply. All right, Anita, welcome to Keys to the Shop. So happy to have you on. How are you?
Good. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm extremely excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, it's always great to talk to you. I get to see you at every coffee fest because Slow Pour and you're sponsoring so much. You do so much work in the coffee industry. It's always great to see you around these competitions and trade shows. And I feel like everybody should just benefit from, hearing what you have to say just as much as I have. So it's been a long time coming, and I'm really excited for it. So yeah, obviously there's a lot to talk about here. Well, it's obvious to me because you have such a great an artistic past. You were kind of a classically trained musician into the arts, and this is what you were doing before coffee, I believe, right? How did all of that come about to guide you to where you are now, so heavily involved in coffee?
I believe that art form, coffee, and music, to me personally, they belong in the same realm of things. So they are very closely tied together. And that's probably why when I come from like a music background, being music for so long, thinking, and I thought that this is the only thing that I could do for a very, very long time. Over 2 decades, I was thinking that I would never leave music. Maybe I haven't left music perhaps, but I have found the connection between music and coffee, and that's what motivates me to move myself from music entirely into coffee. The connection is quite interesting to see some of those being tangible and some of those are not. For one, coffee is something that you can enjoy as a physical product, and music is not so much so, only to the player themselves. So for music is intangible, it's sound, and that sound is created through a motion and a movement of a person's body interacting with an object. The sound dissipates after the sound is being made, unless it's being recorded. The same as if we're talking about latte art, the coffee is being made, latte art is on the surface of the cup, it disappears. It has a limited amount of time that you can enjoy, but both of them has a prolonged impression, sets a prolonged impression to the person who enjoys it. I believe that both of them are time-sensitive products, so you have to grab it as it comes along. You have to enjoy it at the moment. You have to enjoy it at the beginning. And then there is this third part that you mentioned, which is art. Art is an expression. It's an expression of a person's passion. I think the word passion really ties everything through for us, and for Slowpoke, for me, myself, as a person in my journey of interacting with music, art, and coffee. And art is an expression of an idea. And to present the idea to another person, whether it's in visual form, whether it's light, whether it's an experience, whether it's an ambience, is a self-expression in a way to communicate to other beings and to show other beings through a practice of skills in a way that we can connect spiritually. And that spiritual connection is also seen as in music and coffee. In coffee, it might be a sensory experience, but I think a more visual way of seeing art in coffee is really latte art.
Was latte art one of the things that made you start to make that connection between those realities of music and coffee, that visual representation of the final product?
I think latte art is a medium of how to achieve those connections, but it's not the starting point for me. The starting point for me is really the intricacy of the fine motor skills that is required to make coffee, make good coffee actually, and the repeatability of it. And when we shoot for consistency, it's very, very similar to musicians' practice. As a musician, we try to not play any wrong notes, right? As it's written, if it's a classical piece of music. But there is interpretation, right? So there is interpretation that is on top or above what is written. And those type of things is kind of, everybody's kind of given the same manuscript. And it's up to you for manipulating, interpreting the composer's idea. It's very similar to giving you a bag of beans, giving you similar espresso machines, giving similar perimeter in the dialing process, and you really try to look for those nuances that you want to highlight. It's a very similar process to me. It's also like a time-sensitive process. It is also kind of scientific in many ways. It's mysterious. But the biggest challenge or biggest difference that we see, or I personally see, between making coffee and making music is coffee is being made in a cup to serve the other person. It is always a mystery. I cannot taste it before I provide this to, or serve this to another person. The enjoyment at the end is solely for the consumer, is solely for the customer. Whereas music, while I'm making it, I know exactly what I'm playing. I can perceive it differently because of how my feeling or my sensitivity of time is different than the other person, but we enjoy it together as me being the maker or the player of the music. and the other person being a listener. So there's a slight difference there, but that's what intrigues me. It's like I know that I dial in this coffee or this espresso certain way, but I can only guess how it tastes like in the cup.
There are a lot of musicians out there who don't make the connection to coffee and what they drink and what they make, and it won't be such a deep connection. Your introduction to coffee then must have been something pretty artistic itself that made you see this connection pretty plainly.
Yeah, I believe it probably because I got into coffee pretty late in my life, not like my first job. I've been in music for some years, like decades, before I started coffee. So I try to approach it in a way that in the same pattern or same shape or form that I was taught in music. So I try to understand it and see if there is some type of knowledge that I already have or some type of habit of how I approach learning a new skill that I can put into coffee. So I try to approach it in a way that, for example, I need to find the tools that work for music like equipment or instruments. And the same thing I want to do in coffee. So I want to approach it first from the tool side, equipment side, and find a product or find a piece of object that will really help me get there. And to approach it from that angle is similar to getting a really good knife when I want to start my cooking journey or get a really good pan. I think it provides me some sort of a shortcut in the trial and error stage, provide me some sort of confidence and security, and that's important for me.
All right. Well, I mean, that is what you spend a lot of your time doing now, is based in the world of the tools themselves that are provided to those who are making coffee professionally. And I'm curious about you going from this journey to learning about coffee past your first career later in life to then becoming so a lot of the analogies that people will use is that basically you have to be inspired by people, then you get to be creative, or you are going to play the classics and then you're going to give your spin on something, right? And
Yeah.
so in what you've been doing most recently is putting your spin on things past where you were learning about them. So at what point in your journey of learning about coffee did you start to feel the confidence to venture in professionally with your interpretation of what could be seen as a better tool or your version of a common tool?
I think it's quite interesting to maybe see it as an approach of what came first, if that's something that we take some more time to think about, like, do I have to find my tool first, or do I have to be sufficient in my skill to understand it if the tool works first? It's like a chicken and the egg kind of
Right.
question, or like, do I need a good bike to learn how to ride a bike? Yeah, or a good pair of tennis shoes or something like that. I believe that there are two ways to approach it. First of all, like, how far do I want to get to where I want to go? Like, do I really want to be very, very good at my art or very, very good at my coffee skills? Then when I decided to be really good at it, and because I think there's no point of playing small when you really want to be good at something. There's no point of just trying it out and then I'm not so sure if I want to do it. I want to spend I want my time well spent when I'm passionate about something. And I'm passionate about it. I know I'm passionate about it, so I want to get really good at it. And when I decided that I want to be good at it, then I start looking for tools that can get me there. I might not be 100% very good at it or very confident at my skill set when I get the best product that I can find. But to slow pour, I believe that's the whole point. If you provide tools that are important for baristas or like coffee enthusiasts, their journey of improving their art, their skill set, they must be accessible price point wise. So they can be able to afford in the trial and error stage. As I always say, a better chance to be successful without the obligation of paying a lot. I believe that being good at something is not something that you need to fight very hard for it. It's just the opportunity that you're being opened the door to better tools and a better price point. So it provides you with the opportunity. So I did not feel that I have to be a latte art champion to start buying better pitchers. I did not feel like I need to be Brewers Cup a competitor to be starting to buy better drippers. But I think that grows together at the same time. If I'm able to access those tools, whether it's through sponsorship, whether it's through somebody bought me this as a gift, whether it's through like me paying for it for myself, it will help me understand my skills. It will help me understand where I land, like in this spectrum of different, like of the skill sets. It will help me develop better understanding of what I need to be doing. It's just opened up a lot more opportunities. It's like buying a better instrument at an affordable price point, and I can actually produce a better resonance, better sound, for myself or for other people to enjoy. So I think it's,
Hmm.
yeah, it's growing at the same time. It's something that is growing together.
I really appreciate that perspective. And I was just talking to somebody the other day about the idea that, you could buy a guitar. I play guitar. And actually, I know that one of your main instruments was clarinet. And I played very poorly in elementary school. I played for like 8 years. But with guitars, you get inspired by the ease of beautiful sounds that comes from good craftsmanship, and it inspires you to do more with that instrument. Everyone learned recorder in
Hmm.
elementary school.
I did
We
too.
learned hot cross buns and all that other stuff. I don't know how long ago. In my drawer next to me here, I actually have like a rosewood recorder. Infinitely better sounds. Not that I play it all the time, like the Piper over here, but it's more inspiring to play. And it wasn't expensive, but it was just made better. So I really appreciate that perspective.
Yeah, I believe that things that are made intentionally better or designed better by people who has the intentional thoughts, who put the time and energy into developing those when we're talking about tools. And the idea behind that, why they develop and design better tools, is because they truly have the passion for other people to be successful. So if I have an idea, I wanted to make a new fork, let's say, my goal of designing this fork is for other people's enjoyment, not so much because I want to sell many forks. I want to make money out of it. There must be a part of it that is because of passion, that people spend so much time developing better tools. It is truly because they want other people to be successful.
And that's the other portion that I think is really key here is that there is a very dedicated community of coffee professionals around slow pour that has been appropriately slowly developed, and
Yeah, we're very thankful for that.
it's the values that are evident in not just the product, but I think the stance and the presentation of what it is. So when you started to create these products and present these products, what was the response like, and how soon did you begin as the creator of these things to see or to feel that fulfillment from that process of seeing someone else be successful with that, and how much of that is a part of what guides what gets done and what doesn't get done?
I believe that in our relationship with our suppliers and manufacturers, there are products that we just purchase from them and distribute, but we do work very closely, which is also a passion project for us, especially latte art pitchers. I started with 3 products, a 15 ounce, so same size, just different colors and shapes of the spout. One of them is handless. And then I started distributing and selling them basically through my online shop. And that was only one size. And then now we have 4 different sizes and 8 different spouts. And through those times that we are creating those additional spouts, or that's for different type of patterns, because the milk exits very differently with different type of spouts. And our relationship with WPM, especially established both of us as milk pitcher specialists, is because how intricate those tiny, tiny, tiny nuances would change the flow. And we continue to, as you said, that community of latte artists, the community of coffee people that are passionate about the manual making of coffee, feeds us with information of what they want to see. And the success comes from definitely the feedback of how open they are able to tell us what they want to see. For example, in the beginning, we only have very boring colors as standardized colors like black, white, rose gold, and then we have some silver colors and other things. But as I look into my Instagram demographic, and those data show me that I got a little bit disappointed that it's quite one single sided, and I decided to change it. I wanted to make sure everybody gets a picture that really showcase their personality and they can be proud of. And I also wanted people to feel like that there is always a place in latte art world that represent them, because at the end, latte art is a really personal thing. It's very personal. It's a personal achievement. It's a personal performance. It's, I always say it's like kind of like a graffiti tag. So you can, like Chris, you judge the latte art championship. You can tell already by just looking at them, like which type of or who
Yes.
poured, like, and you can see the intention behind it, like what they were trying to achieve and what did become successful and what did not. That ties back to the question that you just have to, for me, what worked and what did not work. And I believe that for us to develop those new products and to think about what works and what would work, we always think about it as at least like maybe a year or 2 year ahead, and like what would work in the next year or two. Those support from the community, as you mentioned, the feedback and the conversation that we have, and being on the ground, honestly, help us understand what they need to create the things for them. So ties back to one of the questions that you asked, or one thing that I mentioned before. People who create tools and equipments that truly works for people who use them have a certain passion for the end user. They want them to be successful. So as we do dive into those projects and find by testing and understanding, we start those projects by wanting people to be successful. We started those projects by wanting these things to be user friendly, wanting to be efficient, wanting to be accessible. Because it's more like a holistic approach. If I have something that is truly really good, but my price point is not accessible, it means that I'm not truly passionate about the end user. I'm not thinking about that part. I might be thinking about other things more important than getting them to the people who need them. So the more successful part, yes, I think that's the key. Not so successful part, I think so far we are really, I won't say a smooth ride, because there has been a lot of obstacles during the COVID times. A lot of things were not as close proximity, like being with people. I think we managed though. We managed to pull that through, and we managed to tie it through those 2 years. It was difficult to pivot as coffee shops start maybe partially closed down, or people are not pouring anymore, and people are moving their jobs, losing their jobs. Latte art is not as forefront during COVID times. People are using to-go cups, but there are still very passionate people who are pouring latte art every day for themselves, for other people, posting on Instagram. With those being said, I think that was a challenging time that we need to fully pivot and understand what else in the coffee industry, in the tools industry we can do. And that's how when we grew up brewers and we grew up brewing equipment. So to make sure that I'm growing responsibly for the people that I work together with.
Well, that's really refreshing because, as a supplier of tools, and during that time, it's everyone for themselves. And unless you had been practicing a lot of outward focus and hospitality toward the end user as you've been describing it, it may not have been second nature to you to, in the moment, both, yes, you need to, look after your business, but that business is meant to look after the people who it serves.
Hmm.
And so that is obviously one of the things that coffee shops also got to experience in the midst of that challenging time. The amount of investment in the seeds that were planted in relationships, a lot of them came to fruition in the right time when they were desperately needed.
Yeah, totally. I believe that it's very interesting to think about it as a giving and receiving situation. But for me personally, as I'm a Buddhist, so in me seeing this, probably also influenced by that, is not a giving and receiving situation, is a passing on situation that circulates. So anything that comes through me is temporarily stored in me, that I will pass it to another person and then it will circulate. And those things that we have done, all those things that we provided, all those things that we have been given, are circulated by the hands of others. So nothing is truly ours, nothing is truly owned by one person. So this is something that will always guide me in thinking about the support or things that we have gained or things we have provided, and those will be in my mind translated into a circular passed on of resources.
Mm. You're a conduit for those things. You're kind of a milk pitcher in a sense. Is that?
I'm
Yeah.
a milk pitcher.
Yeah, there
I
you go.
think so. I'm happy to be called a
To
milk
put a
pitcher.
very crass,
I
put
love
it a
milk
crass
pitchers.
way, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I mean, because one of the things that it's interesting here is that
Yeah.
you're operating in a space in specialty coffee where there's innovation taking place all over the place, right? And you're a key player in that innovation. And at the same time, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of activity and hustle. And
Mm-hmm.
so you were just at SEA and at the latte art competition there. And there's a lot of busyness and
Mm-hmm.
activity around that. And so I'm kind of curious about how, with the very mindful way that you approach these things, as you enter into the fray of a world of commerce and activity there's just, like I said, a lot of noise. How do you maintain a focus, you and your team, that allows you to stay true to who you are?
Impermanence, I think. That's always guides me. Impermanence. Nothing is there for certain. Nothing is there all the time. They pass through you, and you enjoy that moment. You enjoy that moment, and you give the best you can for that moment. But the holding on or thinking that this is truly just for me or for for certain type of moment to enjoy, it's fine. But that holding on, is something that I believe that if that moment is great, then I will pass it on. And seeing people, like we see competitors, they compete, they probably they start with volunteering and then they go compete, they grow through, people grow through different stages. And I do too. I grew through different stages. Some of them took longer for me to mature. Some of them I'm still learning. Some of them, like, I think I passed those times. For me and my team, I think we really enjoy the time that we're having now. Going to see SCA as an expo and see the competition, see the people competing, see people enjoying our products, enjoying other people's products, There's always this feeling of impermanence to it. So I am happy to see those things being used. I'm happy to see the product being a certain way at this point of time. But this impermanence also pushed me forward to look for newer things, to continue to evolve because I know things are going to change. People is going to change. The preference is going to change. What they want to pour is going to change. The coffee is forever changing too. I mean, our industry is probably one of the fastest changing industry. They react and they interact and they're all intertwined so deeply, so many people, so many different energy. So as you said, the noise, the energy, the people is all impermanent. So it doesn't really bother me. It doesn't really affect my direction, but it gives me a motivation to carry forward and continue to evolve.
So when you're looking from your vantage point as a curator, essentially, and you have a lot of feedback from an industry that you're very involved with, you have these relationships across many different disciplines of coffee as well. As you talk about how things change and people change, I'm curious what you see is changing now that is on your mind that you believe, I want to say the next thing for coffee, but how would you describe the current level of maturation in coffee and where are we kind of collectively going as you see it?
I think the past 2 years changed a lot of people's way of interaction. E-commerce grew so much. I feel like everybody was trying to find ways to grow this more efficiently, and there are a lot of other platforms that came up. We're on e-commerce, so we see a lot of new things that's happening on that space. We actually really need to be back in
Right.
physical space. I think to be back felt great at the expo. To be in a physical space felt great. To see the people getting out of their houses and like working together in a project. For example, for USCC, for the coffee champs, with volunteers and people just getting together and becoming involved again. And that's what we need the most right now. There are a lot of social media or community gathering online. There's a lot of pulling support from people on platforms that we support certain people to achieve certain goals, and or we get together and doing live stream, or sometimes like digital competitions and other things like that. I believe that right now we all crave that physical connection with each other, being in the same space, reconnecting and rekindling those relationships, and really be mindful with each other's presence. I think that's something that we really, really
What
need.
is behind that? What is it that we sacrifice by trying to do things just remotely but not in person?
I believe the physical presence, as we talked about in music, is quite interesting. I think maybe in coffee too. Somebody preparing something right in front of you for you in a moment, like a time that you share. Like here, right here, the slow pour supply. I'm now in my office space, which is in front of the warehouse space. We have a couple connecting space, like a linear connecting space that is a brewing station, and then next to the brewing station is a wide open space over there. You have a communal table. The table has a name because we eat 2 meals a day there. The table is called Matilda. It's like a mother boat. And then we have another space, which we have a meditation space on the other side. And truly, when people come in, they to come in to our physical space. We have some opportunity to make appointment, and we brew coffees together. And with people being physically in a space and preparing those things as an offering to you, that's different than a ready to drink can or music. That's why we go to concerts. It feels like we're getting together in physical. So it takes a lot of effort, first of all, to be in a physical space. It takes more effort than turning on a Zoom call. You get into your car, you prepare your day, you go shower, make yourself look good, and you drive. You go to a space. Maybe you take a flight, but you go there. And a lot of people go there. It's kind of like a temple, then, right? It's kind of like a community space. Then like people put their efforts in going there. Let's say we have 20 people, each of them take 30 minutes to go there. Is 10 hours of effort collectively, and then you meet, and then you do your things together for each other, and you make conversation, ad hoc conversation or planned conversation, and that's a beautiful thing. Our industry is quite interesting because you have coffee. You have green coffee passed on by this hands from the picker to export to many multiple hands, and then it ends up being in our cup. Those are not happening at the same time. It's passed on in circular motion. But when we get together at the same space, these people from different industry, different sectors of the industry, they gather, and then they're finally in a space, and then they make coffee together. And that, I think that's a really beautiful experience.
I 100% agree with this. And it is almost it's a disease in a sense to consider that you need to shave that down to a much more efficient, like the end product is a cup of coffee instead of thinking of the gathering itself as the product or the point or the investments. And so I guess it depends on how you start with valuation. Like if your valuation is that the only thing that matters is what comes at the very end, then I guess cans or pods or frozen whatever is what it is. But I feel like what you just said is absolutely true. There's a resonance that when you're in the presence of an instrument, like you said, you feel that sound and it hits you, your body absorbs it, and it's, for a moment, it's a part of you. Maybe that's the same thing as we get together at Coffee Fest or SCA or whatever. We are resonating and we're a part of each other.
Yes, I think that's a very meaningful experience to be together, physical space, and sharing those moments together.
Well, I am really interested in, as you do interact with a lot of younger baristas, a lot of baristas that are just starting out too, and they're using the pitchers, super passionate about the pitchers. In fact, in the last couple of years, as you all have been a sponsor at Coffee Fest, Latte Art, the World Championship Open, it's very rare that I don't see a slow pour pitcher in the hand of somebody. For those professionals wanting to, as they use these tools, they are crafted themselves, who they are as baristas and professionals as they use these pitchers that take on a patina of use and all that. What advice would you give to them to develop themselves professionally well, whether that's latte art or simply the way they show up for their daily work at a coffee shop?
We are, as coffee professionals, or as human beings actually, anything that we do in the beginning, we do it for ourselves, to fulfill the need of us doing it for others. Maybe I'll clarify that all our actions, all the things that we want to do, all the things that we want to achieve, we do it for ourselves, to fulfill the need of satisfying others. So the end goal is to satisfy other people, but through that, we're doing ourselves for ourselves. We're satisfying ourselves too. If that doesn't happen both ways, then we'll have to rethink about our goal. But to get there, if you really have to feel that you're doing something for other people, because as you are servicing others and you're providing others a part of you, whether it's through your coffee, whether it's through your time spent, you are gaining something in some ways. And those that you gained as like experience, they will stay with you and they will guide you through what your next step is. I see a lot of people moving around in the coffee industry, trying out different type of experiences, whether it's roasting coffee, whether they want to be at the bar, whether they want to just be competitors, or selling tools, or being administrative work. Those are all different type of experiences. They are all equally important. And through those experiences, we'll always satisfy ourselves by satisfying others and the other way around. Stay true to what you want to do and hold on to that passion. I believe passion is the most important part of us being humans. I think it will really motivate you to try out new things and find your ways. The passion of being with people, the passion of service, the passion for satisfying your own goals, those things is all passion. I think it's truly what has guided me through.
Well said. And I so appreciate your example and how you do that for the coffee community and how you've served all these years through Slow Pour. And your presence is just felt, whether it's in person or just through the products. It is something that definitely resonates with a lot of us. So I appreciate that, and appreciate your time today joining us on the show.
It's been my honor. It's my honor. Thank you so much.
Where can we learn more about Slow Pour and all that you offer through Slow Pour?
Yeah, we have a website, slowpoursupply.co. I think we also have slowpoursupply.com. So I decided to put an M at the end. We do have 2 platforms. We have one for retail and one for bulk purchases. Yeah, I'm really excited to be part and continue to be part of that evolution of our industry.
Excellent. Thank you again, Anita. It was wonderful to talk to you.
It's wonderful talking to you too, Chris.
I really walk away from my time anytime I'm talking with Anita, whether it's on this show or on the show floor of Coffee Fast or elsewhere, that it grounds me. The way that she approaches things, how she looks to kind of keep an open hand and create and serve and continue with that steadiness, with that mindfulness. It truly is something that I think we can apply to our own careers and will allow us to find more joy in the present moment, make better decisions that will impact future moments, and serve each other better the way that Anita has absolutely done with not only the products from Slow Pour Supply, but absolutely her presence as well. So a huge thank you to Anita for joining us on the show today. If you want more information about Slow Pour Supply Company, all you need to do is go to the website, slowpoursupply.co. That's where you can learn about the origami drippers, the WPM pitchers that are just so iconic, and all the other products that they are coming out with and innovating for the coffee community. Again, that is at slowpoursupply.co. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback for me about today's episode or any other episode of Keys to the Shop, definitely reach out to me. Chris at keystotheshop.com is where you can do that. It's also where you can inquire about Keys to the Shop Consulting, where you can work one-on-one with me to help you improve your coffee business or to help you start your business off on the right foot. Again, that's Chris at keystotheshop.com. You know, coming up very shortly here, like I mentioned in this conversation, I get to see Anita at every one of these shows pretty much, is Coffee Fest. Slow Pour Supply is a sponsor for the Coffee Fest Latte Art World Championship Open, and it is there that you get to witness some of the best community and support and camaraderie that you'll see ever in the coffee industry. And I'm just always so thrilled to get to see that at these events. That latte art competition is just a small part of the larger trade show of Coffee Fest, which has been going on for 30 years and presents free or accessibly priced trainings, workshops, panel discussions, lectures, all over a range of topics that will help you become a better coffee retailer, help you find more success in your business. On top of that, you also have the trade show floor with vendors who will help supply you with amazing products for your coffee business. You get to talk directly to them about that. And again, your community of like-minded coffee retailers and professionals is there at Coffee Fest. So the next show is coming up in Louisville, Kentucky, my hometown, in the beginning of June. And then we have Anaheim, California in August, followed by Orlando, Florida in the fall. Go to coffeefest.com to learn more about these shows. And please use the code KEYS, KEYS, for general admission. You get 50% off when you do that for general admission. Again, use the code KEYS, KEYS, for 50% off your general admission to Coffee Fest. I hope to see you there. I'll be at all the shows, giving lectures, judging latte arts. Please do say hello. So again, for more information, check them out, coffeefest.com. And with that, that is the end of our show today, everybody. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, follow on Instagram, share these episodes with your friends, with your team, and also with actor Ryan Reynolds. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.